California State Prison Sacramento, often referred to as New Folsom, would first open its doors in 1986 and today houses more than 2,100 medium, maximum, and high security custody individuals. Back on July 18th, 2025 at approximately 6:37 p.m., staff would observe incarcerated individual Anthony S. Francis Jr. lying on the cell floor unconscious, with his cellmate, another incarcerated individual by the name of Chase E. Jenkins, in the cell. Francis would immediately be taken to the prison's triage and treatment area, where a local paramedic, upon arrival, would pronounce Francis deceased at 7:24 p.m.
Well, I feel more comfortable when I'm with skinheads.
The way I shave my head, the reason why I wear boots is because I'm proud of who I am.
Drink and fight. I mean, that's what, being a skinhead is all about.
I don't believe that violence is necessarily evil in itself. It's the reason for committing the violence.
Authorities are investigating the death of an inmate at California State Prison Sacramento, now ruled a homicide. CDCR says the deceased 23-year-old Anthony Francis from Glenn County was found unconscious in his cell on July 18th, dying shortly thereafter. On September 11th, the coroner ruled his death a homicide. His cellmate at the Folsom prison, 38-year-old Chase Jenkins, has been placed in restricted housing as investigators look into what happened. Francis was serving 12 years for voluntary manslaughter and battery, while Jenkins is serving 11 years for robbery and prior felony conviction.
On hate crimes, Fox News has uncovered a disturbing trend in racially motivated attacks.
Aiden Pickering is here now with part one of his special investigation. Aiden.
Well, John, Christine, it's about skinheads fighting skinheads. Some believe that rivalry is creating a vicious cycle of violence in which innocent victims are being caught up. Tonight, in a Fox News investigation, the story behind the story, the anatomy of a hate crime. The testimony of a 14-year-old boy shocks a hushed courtroom in a little publicized case in LA, held in the same building as the O.J. Simpson trial.
You're a white supremacist, is that correct?
Yes.
As a white supremacist, what do you believe in terms of white supremacy?
I believe in having our own Aryan race.
And is that a white race?
Yes.
Okay, can blacks be part of it?
No.
A preliminary hearing involves 3 alleged white supremacists, all facing the possibility of life in prison after a shooting earlier this year in the Antelope Valley.
Racism's f***ing ignorant.
And there's a unique backdrop to this crime involving a conflict between rival groups of skinheads, a setting, some say, that makes this type of crime more likely to recur. Heads shaved, one skinhead piles upon another, members of the same group in Lancaster letting off steam. A party house, where the dog is the only one with hair.
This is Kibble's. Hey, check it. Who is it?
Unless girlfriends come over. But look at the insignia.
The O, and then the L, and the R.
And you'll find these guys are very different from what most people think of as skinheads.
All skinheads aren't racist, and the original skinheads weren't racist either.
They call themselves skinheads against racial prejudice, or sharps.
What's up, man?
They just like the skinhead look and point out the movement was founded in fashion.
Psycho City right there.
Not fascism. But with many skinheads embracing hate and Hitler, the sharps are prepared to fight their racist lookalikes.
White power.
Not many street corners away from the sharps are Lancaster's other skinheads.
They ain't skinheads. This is skinheads right here.
White power.
It's straight up white power.
These teens say they're members of a brotherhood called Nazi Lowriders. Others go by the name Peckerwoods. They are racist and spew a vocabulary of violence and hate.
Those who oppose us shall die by my hand.
The talk degenerates into schoolyard boasts of wanting to kill minorities. They laugh and use racial epithets.
They push us around
all our lives.
Why do you think we are the way we are? They say that we're
And they wonder
prejudiced.
why we hate them so much.
But why should this clash of ideas and the resulting fights on the streets of Lancaster and other Southland communities matter to the rest of us?
Some people in a car were shot at by skinheads.
County Sheriff's Deputy Chris Haymond recalls the incident that led to this week's court case. And it happened here. A dark blue Honda had just pulled up on this street. Inside, 3 men and a 4-year-old girl, all African-American. 6 shots rang out. The 2 men in the front seat were injured by the bullets. The 2 in the back, including the little girl, were injured by flying glass. The case is in its early stages, but the DA is using tough new legislation to prosecute this as a hate crime.
That they are skinheads, that they are against blacks.
And the court agreed to requests by victims and witnesses not to be identified. The DA explains why.
Because all of them have expressed a fear for their safety, in that if they testify and indicate what they know in terms of what the skinheads did to them, that they have a fear for their safety, that some harm may come to them.
Now Fox News has uncovered the story behind the alleged hate crime, and it's a story with chilling implications for everyone.
There's like two white power people standing like up there on the curb next to the windows.
Johnny is a member of a sharp group. They're the non-racists. He says the day of that shooting started with yet another confrontation with some racist skinheads.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Hope y'all having a good weekend. Okay, so we're going to be talking about a murder that actually took place back in July, but wasn't ruled a homicide until about 9 days ago on September 11th by the coroner out of Sacramento. This involved an attack that happened at California State Prison Sacramento, better known as New Folsom. Two white inmates, and the alleged, basically, when you look at their mugshots, Chase Jenkins and Anthony Francis, okay, you can kind of immediately tell, or if you had to guess, who was the one who was attacked and who was the one that did the attacking. You're going to probably be able to guess right. But interestingly enough, when I go into these guys' backgrounds, the one with the more morbid or more violent past, or the one who's committed the more, I would say, heinous crime, is actually the victim in this case, and that's Anthony Francis Jr. We're going to get in his background as well as Chase Jenkins' background. He's a documented, confirmed skinhead gang member out of San Diego. But first, like we always do in these cases, we're going to be reading from the CDCR press release that was just released 3 days ago on September 17th, 2025. California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation officials are investigating the July 18th, 2025 death of an incarcerated person at California State Prison, Sacramento, as a homicide following the Sacramento County Coroner's determination of cause of death. On July 18th, 2025 at 6:37 p.m., staff observed incarcerated person Anthony S. Francis Jr. lying on the cell floor unconscious with his cellmate, incarcerated person Chase E. Jenkins, in the cell as well. Francis was taken immediately to the prison's triage and treatment area, where a local paramedic pronounced Francis deceased at 7:24 p.m. So it looks like in these cases when these attacks happen, they immediately are going to call them when they're going to reach out to outside resources, people at the hospital. Hey, come on down. I don't know if they have a paramedic like on staff. Maybe they do. But regardless, paramedic arrives, and less than an hour after he's attacked, he is pronounced deceased. So fast forward, on September 11th, 2025, the Sacramento County Coroner determined Francis's official cause of death as a homicide. Don't know why it took so long. I do know these take a while. I guess what's interesting to me is we hear about these attacks right as they happen. This is the first time I'm hearing about this attack. So always when I cover these stories, this is the first one that hasn't been like this. We get news, homicide in California State Prison, name it, right? California State Prison X, right? High Desert, New Folsom, Kern Valley, whatever, okay? Salinas, you pick. But then within the article, the CDCR, the releases, it'll say the cause of death is still pending. Well, in this case, it was kind of reversed. This attack happened. I didn't know about it. I had not seen a press release. I Google every single day, basically like a refresher on if there's any new press releases involving homicides with California prisons. Well, in this case, this happens a couple months ago, and the story doesn't hit the news until after the coroner makes the determination that it was a homicide. So I just thought that was interesting. Jenkins obviously gets placed in restricted housing. Francis, 23, was most recently received from Glenn County on June 3rd, 2024. Hadn't been locked up long. He was given 12 years for voluntary manslaughter with an enhancement for the personal use of a dangerous or deadly weapon. While incarcerated, he was also given another year and 4 months by Glenn County on May 24th, 2024 for 2 counts of battery against a custodial officer to be served concurrent with the first sentence. So it means he attacked a prison worker, something along those lines. Jenkins, 38, was most recently received from San Diego County on July 19th, 2023. He was given 11 years for second-degree robbery as a second striker and prior felony convictions of a serious offense. So like I said, immediately when you look at these two, when I looked at the post, immediately I could guess right, and anybody would guess right. Jenkins is the attacker. Francis is the person who got attacked, right? You'd be right with that. But When we dive into the background here, Francis basically committed murder. We're going to read here in just a second about what he did to a 40-some-year-old woman. Very violent, very vicious. He got off very light, to say the least, only getting 12 years for voluntary manslaughter. He committed a murder. And I will say this as well. Jenkins obviously looks like your kind of atypical hardened convict. Got a lot of the neck tattoos, the face, the eyes, documented skinhead gang member. Anthony Francis, though, to me, looks like your typical serial killer, your typical school shooter, if I say, it goes as far as to say that. The eyes don't look right to me, right? Jenkins looks scary. Jenkins looks like a guy that'll hurt you if you piss him off, but what you see is what you get with Jenkins. Anthony Francis Jr. does not look well to me. The lights aren't all on. He's not functioning at full capacity, and he looks like a guy that could go off the edge at any point. And the crime that he committed to get locked up fits that profile 100%. So we're going to read from an article in just a second, but I did find it interesting that within the Glenn County, basically they had a press release involving it, just kind of basically said what he was convicted of. So People versus Francis Anthony Jr., this is back on May to June of 2024. Defendant, Francis Jr., was convicted of a felony violation of Penal Code Section 192, voluntary manslaughter, and / use of a knife or a hammer. And I thought that was pretty telling, especially when we're talking about his mental state and just how I'm sorry, man. For me, if you followed my channel, I've always said the same thing. It's always in the eyes. It's always in the eyes. I can tell. I've gotten comments, you can't tell somebody or tell us this person's on drugs. Okay, maybe sometimes I'm wrong, but I'm telling you, doing this long enough, experiencing my own battles with addiction, being around all sorts of people from all walks of life, of all different races, because I was in every sort of facility you could be in, from a detox facility to multiple treatment facilities to county jail multiple times. You start just being in daily life, being in and out of that crap, you pick up on things and how people are. And I'm sorry, but Anthony Francis Jr. is just not right in the head, is 100% what I would say. And then, this is an article from July 25th, 2020 about the crime that he committed, the murder he committed out of Willows, California. A 46-year-old woman was found murdered inside a home in Willows, and an 18-year-old, who was 18 at the time, man is in custody in connection to her death, deputies say. The Glenn County Sheriff's Office said it happened on Saturday, July 25th, shortly after midnight, when deputies were called to a home on North Butte Street in Willows after a neighbor found an unconscious woman inside a home. When deputies arrived, they say they found an unconscious woman inside the home with severe trauma to her body. Life-saving measures were attempted and by first responders, but deputies say the woman was pronounced dead at the scene. She's been identified as 46-year-old Jessica Anaya, and I put her picture up. I put her house up where she was attacked. I just put all those pictures up for you guys to see. An investigation was initiated into her death, and the case was turned over to the Glenn County Sheriff's Office Major Crimes Task Force. The suspect was determined to be 18-year-old Anthony Francis Jr. He was found in the area and arrested and booked in the Glenn County Jail for murder. Deputies say Anthony Francis Jr. lived in the home where Anaya's body was found. They say at one point in time, Anaya lived there as well. At this time, deputies are not saying the relationship between the suspect and the victim. Deputies say this was a targeted crime. This is a developing story, and this article will be updated with the latest information. And then when you read through the comments, sorry guys, that was my work radio. And when you read through the comments, you could definitely tell people were pissed about this particular crime. And then you can tell about the post about his death. There's some justice for his victim, and just the fact that he only got 12 years for this particular crime. Definitely upset a lot of people. Okay, Chase Jenkins, our alleged attacker in this case, out of San Diego, a documented skinhead, and that's what this article says. Now we're going back to February 20th of 2013. Man described as a documented skinhead was sentenced to more than 2 years in state prison on burglary and stolen vehicle charges in San Diego's North County Superior Courthouse. Chase Evans Jenkins, who was 25 at the time, admitted the 2 felony charges in a plea deal. The felony paperwork states that a sentence of 2 years and 8 months will run concurrent with any time imposed for probation, violations, and 3 other separate criminal cases. Jenkins has prior convictions for grand theft and possessing a hypodermic needle in jail, so he's a drug user and another stolen vehicle, according to court paperwork. Escondido police testified in court last September that prominent tattoos on Jenkins' neck, which were captured in surveillance video, were helpful in identifying him as their suspect for stolen vehicle and other burglary cases. A prosecutor stated that Jenkins' criminal career started in 2005 when he was 18, so basically, man, he jumped off the porch with it. In a court hearing on January 28, 2013, Superior Court Judge Aaron Katz ordered Jenkins to pay restitution of $2,000 to one of the victims named as Wanda and another $830 restitution payment to a Leo Hamel Fine Jewelers. So definitely worked his way up, 18 years old, coming off the porch with it, burglary cases, these other thefts, and then he gets an 11 to 12-year sentence for this second-degree robbery. But now he commits this in-prison murder, and looks like he might be going away for life. So just kind of everything comes full circle. In the case of Jenkins, the hypodermic needle, guys, like we always talk about, right? Drugs. They play such a big part in all of these criminal proceedings in our criminal justice system as a whole, in society as a whole. Drugs, they play such a pivotal role in development of, at least for me, when I was a teenager, and I'm trying to not ramble when I say this, but I literally look at my life and I can see a straight path from when I chose to go down a line of I'm going to start smoking marijuana, start drinking alcohol, to I'm going to start popping prescription pills by the age of 18, to where my life led me to if I had not chose to do those. And I thought about this the other day, and this is really crazy, and sometimes I don't like to admit it. I didn't get sober. I just turned 34. I've been sober 5.5 years. And I literally look at my life and say, man, had you put me in a prison cell at the age of 18 when I took my first prescription pill, and you said, we're going to put you in prison for 10 years, but you're going to remain sober, you're going to get degrees, you're going to learn trades, and when you come out, you're going to be sober for the rest of your life. I truly think, and this is hard for me to admit, I might have been further ahead than I was when I got sober out here on the street. Yes, I'd had trips to county jail, spent months at a time in there, but I'm serious. Had you said, hey, you're not going to be able to F up your life for basically all of your 20s, I really do think I'd be further ahead had you locked me up from 18 to 28, which is not easy for me to admit. It's because that's how much damage I did to myself as a full-blown drug addict for almost all of my 20s. I'm just going to leave you guys with that. And I really hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to keep cranking these out for you guys. It's been a long week of work, but I also did feel like I got some good content out for y'all. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you like the video, like and subscribe. Peace.